In the peaceful and charming Willowbrook neighborhood, nestled under a canopy of ancient oak trees, there stood a dark and ominous mansion known simply as the Thornwood House. This imposing relic from the past had been abandoned for a long time, and its mysteries were hidden within its walls covered in climbing ivy. For centuries, the people of Willowbrook shared stories of strange events surrounding the mansion. They claimed to hear ghostly screams, frenzied shouts, and the sorrowful cries of a woman echoing from the decaying building every night. No one dared to approach it after the sun went down. And with time, the mansion became a source of both fear and fascination. The local legend that circulated among the residents spoke of a gruesome murder that took place in the dark corners of the mansion hundreds of years ago. It was told that a wealthy man named Alexander Thornwood lived there with his beautiful wife Isabella. Their love had turned into a storm of jealousy and anger, leading to a violent and deadly confrontation. One fateful night, during a furious thunderstorm, Alexander's lifeless body was discovered at the bottom of the grand staircase next to Isabella's. It seemed that he killed her and then he killed himself. As time passed, the Thornwood house remained vacant and its grim history faded into obscurity. However, the ghostly cries that emanated from its depth each night continued to haunt the area. One autumn evening, a courageous man named Jonathan, who had recently moved to Willowbrook, decided to unveil the truth behind the haunted mansion. Equipped with a flashlight and a journal, he stepped into the mansion's crumbling entrance. The moment he crossed the threshold, the air became heavy, and he felt the weight of centuries of sadness bearing down on him. Undeterred, Jonathan passed on, following only the distant echoes of the cries that had troubled Willowbrook for generations. Through twisting corridors and upwinding staircases, he pursued the ghostly sounds until he arrived at the grand ballroom. There, bathed in the eerie glow of his flashlight, he discovered a worn journal. Its pages contained Isabella's sorrowful writings, confirming the tragic tale of love and betrayal that was part of the local lore. However, just as Jonathan was preparing to depart, the mansion itself seemed to awaken. Doors slammed shut, plunging him into darkness as his flashlight went out. Panic overcame him, and he stumbled blindly through the ever-changing shadows of the mansion. The cries grew louder and more desperate, and he felt lost in a shifting labyrinth of fear. As Jonathan stumbled through the pitch-black darkness, a ghostly whisper hung in the air, sending shivers down his spine. It felt as if the very walls of the mansion were speaking, their eerie voices guiding him with an unsettling purpose. A sinister voice urged, "You must head to the east wing," its hissing words chilling him to the core. Upon reaching the east wing, he flung open the door, and his heart sank like a heavy stone. In the dim light, he beheld a scene that would forever haunt his nightmares. There, trapped in torment, was a member of his own family, his sister Emma. Her eyes were wide with terror, her voice silenced by an eerie hush. Without a moment's hesitation, Jonathan lunged forward to rescue her. However, the instant he touched her, the room began to twist and distort. The walls contorted, and suddenly they were no longer in the east wing. They had been transported to an entirely different place. Now, trapped in a room engulfed in raging flames, Jonathan's instincts screamed at him to flee. The scorching heat licked at his skin, and thick smoke threatened to smother him. Desperately he searched the room for an escape, but it seemed as if the mansion had transformed into a horrifying maze. Panic surged through him as he searched for the exit, his mind a whirlwind of fear and confusion. The flames crackled with a sinister delight, and the room seemed to mock him with its ever-shifting layout. Jonathan's sole focus was to find a way out, to escape the ceaseless torment of the Thornwood House. But as he battled the inferno and the ever-changing walls, he couldn't shake the eerie notion that the mansion itself had become a malevolent entity playing wicked games with his sanity. After what seemed like an incredibly long time of navigating the complex maze inside the Thornwood House, Jonathan finally burst through a door and found himself under the refreshing night sky. The feeling of freedom was overwhelming as he took deep breaths of the crisp, clean air. He had successfully escaped the clutches of the sinister mansion. Covered in sweat and soot from his harrowing experience, Jonathan turned to face the Thornwood House one last time. He understood what needed to be done. With a heavy heart, he lit a match and set fire to the old, cursed mansion. The flames roared to life, eagerly devouring the decaying exterior of the building, and a dreadful commotion erupted from within. Terrifying roars, mournful cries, and tormented screams echoed through the night as if the very walls of the mansion were alive and suffering. Jonathan watched as the inferno consumed the haunted structure, casting an eerie glow across the neighborhood. The flames danced wildly, creating eerie, twisting shadows. The Thornwood House's torment was finally drawing to a close, but it had left an enduring mark on Jonathan's soul. Once he was certain that the fire was beyond anyone's control, Jonathan distanced himself from the blazing ruin, his heart heavy with the weight of the horrors he had witnessed. He knew he had made the right decision, sparing the neighbors from the terrors that had plagued the Thornwood House for centuries. Exhausted and mentally drained, Jonathan hailed a taxi to take him home. The driver couldn't help but cast a curious glance at him, noticing the dirt and soot that clung to his clothes. But Jonathan offered no explanation. He simply wished to leave the nightmarish events. Finally, he reached his own house, where the comforting familiarity of his surroundings provided a brief respite from the horrors he had endured. He collapsed on his bed, thankful that he had rid the neighborhood of the malevolent presence that had haunted it for so long. With a sigh of relief, Jonathan closed his eyes, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep. He lay in the darkness and listened. Whispers, distant cries, and faint screams echoed in his ears. It appeared that the Thornwood House might not be gone for good. Revenge, it seemed, was a lingering spectre determined to make its presence known.